There's another shot of it. Actually, that's not the lowest position. It will go down about another half a metre, I should think, something like that. The other thing is, on this aircraft we don't have, the operational aircraft had a pair of 20mm cannon in the nose, operated by the lookout here. So here's the pilots here. Bomb aim would be laying down there. There's a low-level bomb site. This guy here would have a joystick and a bap, bap, bap. And it's not for firing at aircraft, this is for firing at submarines. So as we were running in during the daytime, he'd start firing at about 1 mile, sort of blam, 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 blam. With the cutaway nose, the guns go right down to this sort of angle like that. So he's firing armour-piercing, you know, to try and make holes in the submarine, basically. Okay, now, peacetime though, what we're looking for, because you know, we were not at war with the Russians, alright, so we take photographs of theirs, their ships, so we go up top end of Norway and find lots of activity, exercises going on, and they wave to us and we take photographs, and in NATO exercises they come down and take photographs of us. So it's a game, if you like, but we're not shooting at each other, thank God. Anyway, they go off to intelligence, they look for new radars, new missiles, 8 cruise missiles here, another 8 round the other side. It's no wonder that we can't get recruits for these new aircraft carriers of ours, because they'd have 16 of these coming at them, possibly nuclear warheaded. Anyway, we take 5 photographs. They've got surface-to-air missiles, front and rear, to shoot us down. And the other thing we're tracking is diesel-electric submarines. Now, in the Nimrod, we mainly track nuclear submarines, all right, which don't come to the surface. These are like German U-boats in that they spend most of the time on the surface, even in wartime, because on the surface they can do 15 miles an hour, underwater they do 5 miles an hour, you know, and that's on batteries, which only last for so long. So the German U-boats and these sort of guys back in the 50s, 60s, 70s spend most of the time on the surface, even in wartime, because of their speed. And they have ESM here, that aerial there, okay, and when they come into the surface they pop that up and go, anybody around? Okay, well the way we use our radar, this is a radar by the way under our feet, and we've got these 2 big hydraulic jacks here to lower it down and raise it back up again. Anyway, they put up their ESM and, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, they wouldn't come to the surface, you know, if we were up there. So we tend to use our radar on for 5, off for 10, on for 5, off for 10. And whereas if this was our search area, typical search area would be 100 miles that way, 60 miles this way, 6,000 square miles would be a typical search area. If we were searching for a warship, we do this sort of thing, because a warship's not going to go anywhere, okay? But if we're searching for a submarine, we have to be very sneaky, so we're going radar on for 5, off for 10, and then we do random track plans, so like this. So if submarine was here, going along here towards our carrier over here, and we were somewhere up here, they could pick our radar up, but we're too far away to detect them, you see. They were too small. Well, they could be following our radar. They're quite happy because we're a long, long way away, and they've got a job to do. Go and sink our carrier over here. So what we would do, we go radar standby, and then purely by chance we might dodge down here. Radar on, and boop, we've got ourselves a submarine. Okay, we go full power on the engines, go blasting in towards it. When I say blasting, I mean about 165 miles. And as fast as we can go, let's put it that way. But the submarine's going to pick up our radar and bloop, down he goes. Well, I got sonar buoys in the bomb bay, and I drop those, and the sonics operators then track it underwater, and I set up an attack. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, when we find these though in peacetime, Cold War, peacetime, we take photographs of them, right? And that's done from this seat here. So we've got 4 senior NCOs, and they do lookout, tail, nose, galley, radar, radio, you know, and all the other equipment. They move around quite a lot. So we've got a big camera down here, and by big I mean 6-inch square negative films. Fantastic quality photographs. And even if it's winter and it's raining and snowing out there, we don't take photographs through plastic. So no insulation here. So it's freezing cold. If it's raining, snowing and all the rest of it. Down the back it's really cold. Very noisy too.
Yeah.
2 engines just out here. Anyway, we're at 500 feet. The pilots bring whatever we're going to take a photograph of about a quarter of a mile away, and then as it comes alongside, just click, 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 click. That's what the Shack did for 40 years. I only did it for 6 years. Then I did another 15 years in the Nimrod. Then at the age of 47, I suddenly went keeled over with a heart problem.
Oh.
And out of the Air Force. Yes, up in Scotland with a mortgage, family, and no job. That was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
I had to leave my wife up there to sell the house and come down here and get a job.
Wow.
Okay, these are the flares here, and the full flare discharges here. And so we load those up, close up the breech block, and when the bomb motor calls out flares, flares, the guy presses the start button and they go off every 1.5 seconds, one at a time. This is the galley.
You can go first.
Thanks, Kevin.
These are the wing spars, so we've got to climb over these. And in 1972, in fact, they grounded the Mk3 because the wings were cracking. But the Mk2 carried on for another 20 years to 1992, right, with much the same equipment here. So that's the radar, okay. Suffers very badly from, it's a 1940s technology, suffers very badly from sea returns. In other words, the waves reflect back the radar signals. So on there you see all these little green dots all sort of coming in because waves die and move and all, so they're all sort of moving around and dying and new ones coming, and in amongst them there's a solid one that's a submarine. Okay. So the guys, there's an officer in charge of the 4 senior NCOs. We always have that manned to stop us crashing into any mountains or you know. And there's always somebody on radio. The other 2 and the officer, they're doing whatever, in the galley, in the lookouts, you know, whatever. But after 20 minutes on that, watching the radar going round and round and trying to stare at it, you know, your eyeballs are starting to go round and round and round.
Yeah.
The officer in charge will move everybody around. So he say, right, galley, you go on radio, on radar. Radio, you go in the galley. Nose lookout, you're on radio, you know, all that sort of stuff. Every 20 minutes. Most of us, like the 2 pilots up front, they occasionally get out of their seats, you know, to stretch their legs a bit, because 10-man crew, we're flying for 12.5 to 15 hours. Okay?
Wow.
Mike, our pilot, who's not in today, he's flown with an extra fuel tank in the bomb bay down the back there. He's flown for 18 hours. So he's a Mike's pilot. You need to get out and stretch your legs.
Yeah.
You know? But mostly they sit up there and each take it in turns to fly. The 2 navigators like me, we're in these 2 seats. First nav, he's in charge. All right, the second nav, done a 6-month course. He knows how to do it all, but somebody's got to make decisions, okay? We swap over every 3.5 hours. Apart from that, we stay in our seats. Nice. All right, unless we want to go to the toilets, which are down the back there.
Oh, okay.
And then if something happens, we get a submarine, the lookouts will come and man the sonics equipment, we call it, sonar, if you like. I dropped sonar buoys on a target that we had a radar contact and it went under. Okay, so we home into the datum, the radar passes me a range and bearing of where the submarine went down. I home in towards it and then drop some sonar buoys from the bomb bay here. Got 20 of those in the bomb bay, and these 2 guys listen to the sonar buoys and pick up the propeller noise, and they give me bearings and range from this. This piece of equipment here is the ESM, that spark plug up on the roof. Little tiny display here, there you get a bearing line, and he can analyse the radar parameters that we're picking up to identify it as Russian and what kind of radar it is. It's fitted to that kind of ship. But in wartime you don't have any time for that, I tell you. You'd imagine if you're picking up a missile or gun firing radar, you're not very long for this life to do something. So they do a lot of ground training, all the senior NCOs, to identify radars by their sound. And if you heard Gatwick radar, this big radar scanner, it's going round like this, so when it's pointing at you, you'd hear this sort of zzz noise. Fairly long range, so it's lowish frequency, zzz, like that, you see. If you heard these, the code names of all the Russian missile and gun firing radars all ended in screech. Owl screech, hawk screech, you know, that sort of thing. And if you heard it, it'll be which means you're just about to die. Okay, so when this guy hears it, see the bearing up on there, and he said, descend, 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 Hawk Screech 045, or whatever bearing it is.